Welcome to West Virginia and Commonplace. Today I have a special guest with me, Jamie Bryant. Now, let me give you a little history here. When I bring people on from my hometown of Rustburg, it's always a delight for me for the simple fact that I grew up in a very diverse area. I always say this, I'm from Candler's Mountain end of things. So that's like your middle class suburbia. Then you have the Evanston side, Rustburg. Then you actually have like inside of Rustburg. And then you have Concord and outer line areas. So you had so many different people that you went to school with that it was kind of enticing that you got to meet different people because it was like a whole big world at Rustburg before we went into the big world. So Jamie, would you please introduce yourself and tell the audience about yourself?
So hi, I'm Jamie. I live in Rustburg. Let's see, I have two daughters. I've been married for almost 10 years. I never thought I'd move back to Rustburg. I thought when I graduated, I'd travel the world, and I did make it out of this area. Temporarily lived in Korea, which was exciting. But
Oh wow.
yeah, I've been back now for about 12 years and been stuck here, I guess. But it's been good. I work at the local hospital here for psychiatric emergency services, so that's been interesting during the COVID-19 epidemic, pandemic, whatever. It's been both, I guess.
Okay,
But yes,
so
that's me.
all right. So an interesting thing is you had a child just a little bit outside of the start of COVID-19, but your child technically falls into the COVID-19 situation. So what was it like having a child just a little bit before COVID-19, like taking your child to these doctor's appointments and things like that?
Right. So that was terrifying because she was 5 weeks early. So she was already premature and had spent like 6 days in the ICU. So I was already a nervous wreck. So to have her home, and then my husband was still, I guess we were considered essential workers. So me, working at the hospital setting and him working outside in constant construction atmosphere with other workers, like we were literally we've been in constant fear for the first probably 6 months of her life. She didn't, because no one really knew much about COVID or what would happen. I don't think she even left. We never even left the house, which also made it challenging because I think it's important for infants or, babies need to have exposure at least to other human faces besides just
Right.
her damn family. So it was traumatizing taking her out for the first time in Walmart. She was like, oh my God, at first we just ordered groceries everywhere. But we finally started to venture out some and doctor's appointments. So we're nervous, but they did, they take you back so quick because they were so worried about it too that I wasn't extremely worried about it and I had my mask on, but wore those damn masks to make sure.
Yeah,
And she
and
also
my
wasn't accustomed to a car seat, which was, by then, usually by 6 months old, I've probably taken my daughter everywhere, or at least to daycare back and forth, or my dad's house back and forth when he used to watch my first child. Or so she really didn't know what a car seat was. It's like traumatized by the car seat at 6 months old.
I can see that. And the other thing too is like building up her flora, like so that she could actually be used to germs. That's probably kind of been a weird thing because since she hasn't been able to go a lot of places, she doesn't get around all the germs. And then at the same time, you don't want her around all the germs
Yeah.
because of COVID-19. So what was it? What has it been like having two children and being at home during COVID-19? Because you have with a baby, it's so much. If they don't have the night and day down packed yet, it's so much that you have to do with them.
Yes. So I guess we've been lucky with Miss Everline so far. Because I'd say my goal was I got home, I knew I had like 6 to 8 weeks I was going to be with her, and I worked third shift, but not every night. But I wanted to try to get her on a schedule so my husband could at least sleep through the night and do whatever he had to do. So she was sleeping 5 to 6 hours at a time by the time I went back, which was nice. But it has been challenging because usually my 8-year-old is at school, so this will be the first time that I've kept her home virtual. So yes, having her and a baby together all day, and sometimes trying to sleep whenever I can with the baby. And my daughter does her schoolwork as much as she can, and then I help her and we review it in the afternoon, or I have to stop, help her out throughout the day. So that has been challenging, and just making sure that everyone gets enough attention, like even down to the dogs. Like you feel like, I have to make sure I sleep. I also need to eat. Like I need to make sure I give the baby takes so much attention. It's physically draining, and the 8-year-old is more mentally draining. You gotta make sure the husband gets attention, the house. So yes,
So that's got to be kind
it's
of
been nice.
yeah, that's kind of be tough. So how do you cope with these stresses? What is your outlet? Because you have to understand when we do these interviews in these podcasts, like what you're saying will resonate with like so many mothers, fathers, grandparents that are watching kids. Like, how do you cope with that stress? Because you have to take care of all these people. You have to micromanage everybody's attention and all this other stuff. How do you do that?
Cuss? No. Decorate for Christmas. That's what I've been doing. I did paint my living room, doing some housing, right? Some fixing the house. You have more time to sit around and look at stuff that's falling apart, and you're like, oh my God, I need to paint my ceilings. They're like, oh God, look at this. This room is depressing. It's dark brown. Why are we been living in toasted coconut? Like
Okay.
so
Now,
eating. I've been eating. I know that, cooking all kinds of shit. Art. We've been
okay.
making art. So
Making art. What kind of art?
we like we like to paint, but every Christmas we do crafts. So I have to make I make my grandma a homemade craft every year. And the year that I told her I wasn't going to do it, I think she was about to fall out of her chair. So I'm working on a Santa, a homemade little crafty Santa. I'm sure you'll see it on Facebook. I'll display it when it's done.
Okay. Okay, got you there. Now let's move over there. So during this time, how have you been dealing with like social media is like a big part of our lives now. It's kind of like growing up. We all had toys and stuff. I was a video gamer, so I could just turn to a video game and tune out the world. If friends wanted to come over, they did that, or we went skating, we did stuff like that. How has social media affected you during COVID-19 now? Because people have so much time just to sit there, people troll, or just catching up with people. How has it affected you?
It's kind of it kind of actually it's scary. I feel like it makes me sad, or I realize I've been on Facebook for like 10 or 12 years, and that I don't know, it's kind of people are crazier than I thought. Then I'm like, am I damn crazy? I'm like, we're all fucking crazy. Like, this is crazy. I can't believe how many posts I've seen. I guess it's actually increased your stress maybe instead of helped it. I feel like in a way, like sometimes it helps. I used to find it funny, like that was my comedy release. Like I love to laugh at memes and I love to see everyone's pictures, but then it's been a little too serious, or everyone thinking COVID is fake, especially when I worked like in the healthcare setting. That's been the most annoying.
Yeah,
Like
and
I see what
I can see that being kind of annoying because, I was telling people, my son and the mother of my child, they both got COVID-19. It was like really serious, and
Mhm.
people were like, "Oh, you're just joking. You're a comedian. You're an entertainer on social media. You'll just do anything for some likes." And I'm like, "Nah, that's not the
Mhm.
situation." And I was kind of weird about that too. And I'll tell you something weird that's happened, like in our age demographic. Like our demographic is 30 to 40 now. So I
Yeah.
noticed, like on Facebook myself personally, I stepped away from it more. Like obviously with the podcast building up, I do more on Instagram, but for my sense of relief and stuff like that, I've moved over to Snapchat. My girlfriend Stacy has been trying to get me into TikTok, but Facebook doesn't seem like it's the same place it was
Yeah.
12 years ago. You know?
Yeah, and see, I don't have any of those other things. Like I'm not very tech savvy. I don't have Snapchat. I don't get on Instagram. I don't even have like a Pinterest, whatever it's called. I don't do. I don't
Wow.
have any of that other stuff. Like that doesn't, I didn't
That's,
even make Facebook. Like they actually made an account for me in Korea because people couldn't believe I didn't have one because I was in college and it was created. And I was like, I don't care about that shit. But now look, now I got it. And
and it's like our television. Everybody goes
yeah,
to it and just finds whatever they want there, or trolls and finds a comment and just gets out of hand with it, and other things in that. And another thing, Jamie, that you're very poignant about and you have an advocacy for is you told me, and we talked a little bit about domestic violence.
yeah,
Um, you're an advocate for people and trying to help people out and not let them fall by the wayside. You have anything that you would tell my audience to help them out or to get them, geared up in a proper way to take care of themselves if something happens to them?
yeah. It's like please like educate yourself also just the warning signs of domestic violence and educate yourself on that that it is real. Like there's plenty of resources, or not. I guess not that it's real or that it's not as not as prevalent as it is, or that it doesn't matter what your race or socioeconomic status is, or I mean it bypasses all of that. It accounts for all of that. So I do think some people don't understand that at times when you are talking about it or when they're experiencing it, they're in denial. I think this can't be me. I don't fit this stereotype or I'm not this cliche, and it just digs you deeper into the of realizing it can happen to you, and it happens everywhere. But to everyone, but the warning signs, because you might see it as someone who really cares about you, or, oh, they're calling me all the time, or they love to stop by work and see just how I'm doing because they missed me so much, or they're bringing me flowers, when really that's sometimes like the number one warning signs of someone trying to keep tabs or start controlling you before you even know what you're sucked into that idea of what love is and what someone caring about you is, and it's not.
Right, and I thank you very much, like, for expressing that, and like, because like in that topic right there, people with, and I'm talking about mental health, uh, especially when I say this, I'm not just gonna box in domestic violence. Mental health is something that's taboo in our community.
Yeah.
Like, people act like people don't have issues and don't have problems and don't want to deal with these things. Just sweep people under the rug and just do away with them. And I appreciate you, like, expressing that, because a lot of people, they don't care about other people's mental health, and sometimes they don't even care about theirs. That's why they people tend to fall by the wayside, and we have so many different things that happen in the
Hmm.
community. So let me ask you this, Jamie. Uh, right now in life, you've you have both your daughters, you have your husband, and we're going to swing out of the domestics for a minute. Um, y'all are all at home. Since you've been home for COVID-19, has it brought you and your family, not so much your smallest, but your daughter and your husband, has it brought y'all closer? Do y'all communicate better because you see each other more now?
I feel like it has brought us closer, but we were already kind of a homebody-ish, like kind of stick to ourselves. Don't have really siblings around that we see or interact with on a regular basis, and only have like one mother, and he has his mom that we don't really interact with her, but he sees her some. So we were already kind of just a close knit unit to ourselves. So I feel like it has helped, but also maybe made it worse, because since we were already so close all the time anyway, that we needed we probably need to get out more than than we do now, especially the daughter. The 8-year-old causes extra, because it's not cool for an 8-year-old to be here, and she goes to dance class and she's doing really good virtual online, but it's not, I don't think that's what she needs to be interacting with way more kids on a day-to-day basis.
Right, because
That
like when
might
we,
help everybody. Yeah.
because like I said earlier about our area, it's so many different type of people that you're going to meet.
Yeah.
When you're actually out and about and doing this stuff. So with your oldest daughter, um, how is she doing? Like, does she is she able to communicate with other kids via the Zoom, Skype, or whatever kids are doing now, just to have interaction, or is it just mute?
Yes, it is just now started to pick up to where they're having more daily meetings. So for like at least 4 days out of the week, they'll meet for 30 minutes, and that has helped. But up until like these past couple of weeks, it was maybe one live meeting a week for like 30 minutes, like with the teacher and the other kids, but basically just the teacher going over a couple quick lessons, or so she said, really none.
Right.
But that's getting better. Yeah.
So the psyche of an 8-year old or 9 or 10 year old now is going to be completely different from what we knew.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've wondered, and that's why I really wanted to have you on this show, um, because I knew that the field that you work in. How have people been? Because I know for HIPAA reasons we can't state certain things, but well, people's information, and I'm not asking that. But have people? How do you feel people are coping with COVID-19? Do you think people are coping well with it? Because, like I said, you deal with a lot of psychiatric, correct?
Yes.
Do you think, like I said, you can't detail anybody. I understand that once again, but do you think people are dealing well with COVID-19?
Yeah, like the good thing is I don't work directly with the patient, so I work like as an intake specialist. So
Okay.
I do around patients around the state of Virginia, and like people that are in our ED for direct admissions. But I work with a team of people who actually go and see these individuals, like in the ED if they come. But so they are at first, I'm not going to lie, when COVID first broke out, I think everyone was really, really scared. And it was like dead at the intake office. It was dead in the ED. It was not a lot of people coming in for mental health or really anything other than COVID at times, or shortness of breath, or issues breathing. It was pretty, or like true emergencies. It was pretty chill for a while. But I feel like here recently, and also especially with the election and the holidays and the weather mixed with COVID, I think it's definitely increase people's stressors and mental health, tremendously, like not. And a lot of the mental health patients, they're not having their appointments, they're having telehealth visits, or everything's backed up because they can't get their medication. So that's definitely not.
Okay.
not helping the situation at the local hospitals.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Now, if I'm someone that needs some help and I'm in Central Virginia where you are, um, and you, like you said, everything's telehealth, this and that. Um,
Mhm.
what's the easiest way to get in touch with someone to get some help?
I'm definitely your local CSB, and like ours, that's your community service board. Like Horizon Behavioral Health is our local one. Just in like I don't know if they go cover all of Central Virginia, but they used to be the Central Virginia Community Services Board, and that is the 434 I think 528 8191, and that is the after hours emergency number. But you can always go to any local hospital through Centra, so Bedford Memorial Hospital, Gretna Emergency Services, Southside Community Hospital in Farmville, or the Lynchburg, General Hospital, of course. And you can go there with any mental health emergency, and the ED doctor puts in a consultant or an order, so a mental health consult, and we have a whole mental health team that can see you right away to give you any referral information you may need, or they evaluate you for inpatient or psychiatric hospitalization and detox services. So they just point you in the right direction.
All right, and I appreciate that because being informed like that, not everybody has that, and where you have that job, you have that intellect for that. Okay,
Yeah.
now, all right, here we go, Jamie. Inside all this, and I thank you once again for being a guest. Um, during this show, I ask people one question, and this question goes around just like this: do you have a hidden or secret talent? Uh, and if you do, would you please tell us? For the simple fact, on this show, I had a rapper on here from New York. He was rapping about this and that and all kinds of craziness, right? But he can solve an Rubik's cube in 30 to 40 seconds. Like he can
Wow.
just move it around, twist it around, and I'm like,
Right.
what in the world could you do with that type of brain power? Like I could, like,
Oh.
do something to where I would take care of one of the world problems if I had that much mental function. So, what is a hidden talent or a secret that nobody knows about you?
Oh my God, I don't know. You should have asked me this earlier. I could have thought about it.
Well, it's one of those things that
I,
we throw in here. It's one of those things that just
right? Oh, I can't do anything extraordinary. But the only thing that comes to mind, I don't know if you consider it a talent, but I'm really good with kids. I remember like people call me the magic wand. I used to work crisis intervention and like work one on one with kids in the school and can make them do things.
okay.
Behave, listen, go to sleep.
So it sounds like what is it? The ghost whisperer. You're a child whisperer, basically.
Yeah, that's about all I can offer right now.
Okay, that works out good. Now, what do you have going on in the near future? Are you planning on doing anything in the near future, like social media wise, or anything um, that's
I might like I don't know, venture out and try a new one. Like I created an Instagram account and like got on there and downloaded a picture, and then I'm like, well, what the hell do I do now? Like, what? Look at more? Like, is it look at more pictures? Do the same thing you do on Facebook? Like, so I just got off of it, and then I downloaded Snapchat, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm gonna take a picture of the same thing already. It's like I'm too realistic for it. I can't. But I think I should try a
yeah,
new.
definitely try. Because
I've
here's the
never
thing.
even listened to a podcast. I should listen to a podcast, maybe.
Well, I say this, and this is one thing that's odd about these podcasts. I do them, and I will listen to other people's podcasts, but only because I have to edit my own podcast or something to that extent. I truly didn't listen to podcasts until I started doing them.
Nice.
I was just like, it's just another part of radio that I just don't listen to. So it is kind of adventurous. Treat it like this though. A podcast should be like, when you have that proverbial 15-minute break at work now when you're home,
Yeah.
if you have that kind of free time for it, or if you're just, one of those people that keeps headphones in your ears or an Alexa somewhere or something that can play it. Um, but on the social media end, I'll tell you like this: Instagram, for me personally, I always thought it was like the best place to keep my photos because I have people on Facebook that are not on my Instagram, and I have people on my Snapchat that are on all three of my things. They're just the people that I like to watch their content.
Okay.
So I keep them on Snapchat, like the people that I act, because you scroll through Facebook and you see tons of millions of people, and you're like, man, this person's always posting. Let me snooze on them. I like this person, so I hope they get to the top of it of my feed. If they don't, then oh well. But Snapchat and Instagram, you kind of tailor your audience because, like, say, like if you have 1,000 friends on Facebook, for instance, you might only have 300 on Instagram. And then mine goes even smaller than that on Snapchat. I have like 19 to 20, but they're the 19 to 20 people that I follow. I'm a fan of whatever they're doing, and they're a fan of what I'm doing. So that's kind of how I treat those. Because on Snapchat, you can get away with a lot more than you're going to get away with on Instagram or Facebook.
Nice.
And there's no one to ban you.
Yeah.
So that's the sell there. Okay, so let me get in, and I have another question to ask you real quick. All right, so with your workload, the children, your husband, when do you actually find time for yourself? Like, do you take 5 minutes at 11 o'clock from 11 to 11:05 at night, and that's just your time?
Well, I know this is kind of sad, but at my job, sometimes like if if all of the psychiatric units are full and no one's calling around looking for beds around the state of Virginia and no one needs to be seen, I usually have a pretty, I have a chill night at work.
See,
So I gotta watch what I say, but there's been many a nights, where Amazon Prime is my and a nice good book with some coffee and lots of snacks is my that's my nightly thing. Some nights I'm busy and from the time I get there until 5 in the morning, I roll out and I don't even know what happened. But so that is a lot of the time that I have for myself. And the good thing is I usually have I'll have 3 days off, 3 nights and 4 days off in a row at times. So throughout that time, there are some times where I'll find, time for myself. I go hang with my mom. Me and my mom will do some things, or I'll just tell the husband, take the chaps for a minute, or go hang out with my friend Tanisha.
okay. So you do figure
So
out how to take care of yourself in that. So,
yeah.
last thing before we finish off this podcast, let me ask you this: if someone were to want to make a documentary on your life, what would be the title of that documentary, and how long would that documentary be?
Oh, it's oh yeah. My bad. Oh, see, I'm gonna say something bad. This bitch is going to hell, and it would be like an hour long.
An hour long. Why just an hour long?
Because then not much has happened.
Okay, so Jamie, once again, I want to thank you for coming on West Virginia Commonplace. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Anybody that's helped mold you or help you get to a good place, or out of a good place to a bad place, back to a good place?
My dad, yes, God rest his soul, wherever in heaven he's at, but definitely my dad, my best friend, and definitely helped shape who I am today. Work ethic, view on life, and most things that at one time I probably took for granted or didn't want to admit were true are. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
All right, thank you for having me.
All right.